Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about W-2 forms. So we'll start out with a definition. A Form W-2 is the form that an employer sends the employee and the IRS at the end of the year. The IRS is an internal revenue services in the United States which collects taxes that are submitted by the employer and the employee. The form reports an employee's annual wages, an amount of taxes withheld from his or her paycheck for the entire year. So now the point here is if someone worked for a company, let's just say for the entire year, it's going to cover the entire year. If someone worked for a few months, it's going to be for the few months. Now let's look at the role of the employer. An employer must legally send out W-2 forms to each of its employees to whom they pay a salary, wage, or any other form of compensation. This does not include contracted or self-employed workers who must file taxes with different forms. For example, a contracted worker might file a 1099 form, but for the purpose of a full-time employee or a part-time employee, the employer has to provide a W-2 form. The employer must send the employee the W-2 form on or before January 31st each year so that the employee has enough time to file his or her taxes before the deadline of April 15th. Now let's look at how the W-2 form looks like. So this is a sample W-2 form. The information in this is not real, but it gives us an understanding of how it looks like. So the form, now when this form is received by an employee of our company, the way to check this form is first you have to look at your social security number and make sure it's correct. And then they got to check the employer name, and then the address. Obviously the employer files it, so that would be standard, but they have to check the employer's name if it is correct, and also the employee's name and address if that's correct. And here over to the right, we can see the wages and tips and other compensation. So this is the total amount of wages the employee earned for the previous year. And out here, the federal taxes that were withheld. So this gives the federal taxes that the employee paid for the previous year. It also gives Social Security and the Medicare taxes, which is out here. And the other stuff is just there. And here in some of the forms it also gives like the state from which it has been withheld. Now here if you see, it's Arkansas AR, that's the state in which this employee the virtual employee lived, and this was the amount of taxes that is subject to the state tax and the state income tax that was paid. There's also local wages. Some states also have like counties for which the taxes have to be paid, and this would be local income taxes, local wages, and things of that sort. So as an employee, you have to make sure that all this information out here looks right, and that's pretty much what the employee has to do when they analyze. And if you see, there's also a line here. So if an employee worked on multiple states, it's going to show in this arrow where I'm drawing 2 of these states, mostly like it's 2, or some people have 3. If it's going multiple states, somebody worked like for 10 states, then they may have multiple W-2s. They may not have just one W-2 because it lists the states. And another checkpoint is if someone lived in a state and then moved to another state, then a good math would be to see if the state wages, when they add, it amounts to the federal wages. So that's one of the other things that they need to check when they get the W-2. Now, once again, I did repeat it, but when do I receive the form W-2? The employer must send this form on or before January 31st each year so that the employee has time to file his or her taxes before the deadline, which is April 15th. So for those of you who are new to the United States, personal taxes have to be filed by April 15th. and that's the deadline. And so we give out these W-2 forms as early as possible, but the latest deadline for the companies to send would be January 31st. So watch out for that after January 31st or around January 31st during that time. Hence, as an employer for a company, you will receive it around Jan 31st, either via postal mail or electronically if you have a portal access. So if you have ADP platform, you may be able to download it earlier than that. But if you do not, then it's going to be via postal mail. It'll be mailed to your last known address. So make sure that our company has the latest address. Now, what to do with the form once you receive it? This form is to be used by individuals when they file their personal tax returns, which are due on April 15th of each year for the previous year. So how it works in the United States is you file, let's just say we're talking about 2017, for example. Then if you work the entire 2017, then you're going to receive a form W-2 which says W-2 2017, and you pay the taxes in 2018. April 15th is a deadline for the 2017 taxes. So that's how it works. But the actual deadline varies. So you need to check the IRS website, and that's www.irs.gov. You can also Google IRS and then get that information. So it's always good to consult with an accountant, or you can contact the IRS, which is for further information of when the deadline is or how to file taxes. Best is to consult an accountant, or you can use one of those softwares if you qualify, like TurboTax or anything online. You can search how do I file taxes and get some information there. But we're not a tax, accounting firm, so unfortunately that can only be provided by an accountant, like how to file taxes. Then one of the common questions that we receive is, why is my W-2 missing 1 month or 15 days of salary amount? So our pay cycle runs on the 15th of each month for the previous month. This means if you worked in the month of December, the pay date would be on January 15th for that pay period, which makes the wage to be reported the following year. For example, an employee worked from December 1st to December 31st and got paid on January 15th. Let's just say 2018. They worked in 2017, December 1st to 31st, and they got paid on 2018. Then until November, which was paid on December 15th, would reflect on their W-2 this year. And then this period, which is paid on the following year pay date, that would be showed up in the next year's W-2. So W-2 corrections. Once you review your W-2, if you notice any errors, please contact our finance team by February 21st of each year. So, for example, if you get on January 31st of that year for the previous year, you have 3 weeks, that is February 21st, to give us a call or send us an email saying that these are the errors. Because once this deadline is passed, we would be sending as a company a W-2 form to IRS as well as Social Security Administration. And once that's sent, it may be possible, may not be possible, depending on your case by case, but there may not be much wiggle room if you find some minor error, like your address is wrong or your name doesn't spell right. So things like that. You got 3 weeks. So I respectfully suggest everyone to look at their W-2 the day they get it, and then review it with diligence, and then see find any errors, get back to us as quickly as possible, the finance team, and then hopefully this never occurs. But sometimes if it does occur, that's we want to resolve it as quickly as possible. Hope this has been helpful, like how you would review the W-2 forms, and have a wonderful day. Yeah.